And now it's time for a Star Trek story.
You know, Aaron, it's safe to say that between us being on the show and all of our guests, that we are all a bunch of characters. Very silly characters.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, this begs a question. Us being silly characters, my question is, can we choose who we want to be, or are we products of our own nature?
Yes.
Yes, thank you all. Yes.
I think there's some things that you just pick up over time as you're choosing who you want to be in your youth, whether you realize it or not. Little bits of knowledge from other people. You're like, I want to take that, I'm going to make it a part of me. And you move on, and that over time just solidifies in you and hardens. And before long, you forget where it even started and came from sometimes. And then, yeah, like, if you're feeling stuck or in a rut in your adulthood, you could always choose to do something else, potentially, right?
Yeah.
Because life is short, and you got to be happy, and you got to do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You can, depending on your situation, of course, make your life more or less what you want it to be, and work towards that goal.
So D, all of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's a good answer. This is one I kind of go back and forth with. So I will be curious to kind of engage with it more. Because in a lot of ways, yeah, like it is, it sounds like both, but then part of me is just like, you know, but I'm also not sure. Let's just say I'm skeptical of free will, and that seems to, and so when it comes to like, can we really choose who we want to be? I'm like, on some level, yes. On some level, I don't know if we can. But I don't have a position. I don't know either way at the moment. I'm just like, I don't know. So like, if you fall on, yes, but so clearly both of us are so far in like not one or the other.
So I'm like, yes, leaning, yes, you can kind of create yourself.
Both. I think you're coming from the yes, both. I'm like, I'm not sure. Like, kind of. I'm taking the skeptic point of view at the moment. So, let's see if Star Trek has anything to say about this. As we, of course, are watching Star Trek today on today's episode of Star Trek Stories. Yay! This is episode 46, True Q. True Blue? Is that what we're going for with this one? Is that the...
Yeah, I think that's it. He's a true Q slugger.
True Blue Q.
True Q son of a... I'm not going to finish that.
Oh, God. These titles. Yes, welcome to the show, everyone. So glad you're here. I am your poised host, Jaron Hatch, and I'm joined here by my essential co-host, Aaron Cole. Hello, Aaron.
How are you doing, Jay?
We are near the end of our look at the TNG Glory Years. Last time we watched I, Borg, where we entertain our young Borg friend Hugh and my beautiful partner, Jenny Beale. And we just had a nice little conversation about genocide and individual autonomy. Just,
you know, like a casual Sunday.
Just like what you do on a Sunday.
How's the weather? What do you feel about genocide?
What do you feel about? What are your thoughts on genocide? Just casual stuff. And on today's episode, we have another returning guest with us. Sitting in the captain's chair, once again, we have the very lovely Jake Barnes on the show again.
Yeah.
Jake in the house.
I'm in the house.
Hyman in the house?
Yeah, what's that?
Hyman in the
house? Yeah. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome back again, Jake. Mm-hmm. Our most recurring guest host, and I always love it when you come on. It's like I feel like every other episode I get to be like, Jake's coming back, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm always like, I'm glad to be back. Today though, I have indigestion. I have indigestion. It's okay. I took some Pepto. I chose to take Pepto.
Not the product of his nature, folks.
That was-
He took Pepto.
Of my own free will.
The product of your joy, maybe.
Yeah, for those new to the podcast, Jake is one of our dearest friends and one of our old roommates from the boys' house. And Jake has been here watching all of the Next Generation Q episodes with us. Last time you were here, we were watching Cupid, where Mindy was also here with us.
My lovely, lovely partner.
Yeah.
Well, babe.
We've been taking a look at the TNG Glory Years in this batch of episode. This is when the show like really settles into itself and becomes like a television like favorite for millions of people. So now that we're kind of, and you're watching all these Q episodes, and we've talked about before how like Q is an interesting kind of benchmark for where the show is. So now so we're settled into the show. Now we're pretty settled into Q. Like we spent a lot of time with Q at this point. What do you think at this point in like the later seasons? Like where do you think we are with Q? Like how has Q grown over the show? Do you think so far? Like is he more or less the same from when he started, or have we kind of gone on an arc with him? I don't know. What do you think? Just your impressions, because you've only been watching these episodes,
right? Definitely not the same. Very, very different. Evil and ominous. Mm-hmm. Now borderline silly, ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Still very powerful. I think the power has remained. That's the constant. But as far as the character of Q, it's become very silly, but not in a unenjoyable way, I guess.
Sure. Sure.
It's still fun to watch. But yeah, very, very different. I don't know if that's the choices of the performer or the direction or the writing or probably a combination of everything. But very far from that season 1, episode 1 character of Q.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like if I could sum up the feeling, it seems like for me, it's like in the early times, it was like, oh shit, Q. And then eventually hits a point of like, oh my God, Q. Like,
yeah. He's become a lovable guest star, actually. Like if this was a sitcom, when Q would enter, the studio audience would start to clap and whistle and, oh yeah, they're back. So he's becoming this character that is a people pleaser, audience favorite, I think, at this point. They keep bringing him back for a reason. Mm-hmm. The ratings go up.
It is an interesting dynamic, and it also is interesting because it feels like in the first couple of appearances, it feels like his appearances were kind of mandated by the Q continuum, and Q was acting on their behalf. And then starting with the Borg one, that's when it kind of like Q's kind of gone rogue. And it not in the last few, it hasn't felt like the continuum is directing him to. He's having these interactions with Picard of his own free will, his on his own whims. So there's a much more personal. At least that's what it seems like. Earlier, it seemed like he was acting on behalf of the continuum, and now it just feels like it's him, and it's very personal now.
I agree. It's extremely personal, and I think that's where the stories go now. I think the continuum they've been in the background so long as players in the plot that I think they're just not going to be players anymore.
It's just Q.
It's just Q.
Yeah.
Unless you need like Q. What is it called? A Deus Ex Machina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the wild card.
Yeah.
He is. He's a vehicle to make these, I don't know, what, like you were saying, just the Robin Hood thing, any sort of off-the-wall idea that they have that they can't really find any reasonable plot or explanation for. Hey, we'll just bring in Q.
It's Q.
Okay, yeah, fine. That works, right?
Shout out to that very loud engine. Right when you said the word vehicle. He's a vehicle.
Yeah. Free sound.
Impeccable timing.
Coming to Q more specifically, and tying it back in with our original question, talking about the character of Q, the nature of Q. What do you think? Can we choose who we want to be, or are we products of our own nature?
That's a very difficult question.
Yeah, I know.
I lean more toward what Aaron was saying, that it's a mixture of all those things. We have personal autonomy to make decisions, but any anthropologist would probably tell you that the thing that fuels our decisions is enculturation and our upbringing. It's when we're faced with a decision, there's like a little microcosm that goes off in our brain of everything we've ever learned, everything we've ever known, and we take all of that and place it to all of our daily decisions on a subconscious level, an unconscious level, sometimes a conscious level. But yeah, so where do those roots come from is, I guess, the question. We had a professor at Weber State, Susan Young, anthropology professor, who said that humans don't have any instincts. And what they meant by that is, like, if a baby wolf is born in the wild and it loses its mother, it will figure out how to live and do what it has to survive. You leave a human child in the wilderness, it's just going to cry until it dies. Yeah. So from that point of view, we're not, as they put it, we're not born with instincts. Everything is learned behavior or we'll die. So when everything is learned behavior, is anything actually chosen by yourself? I don't know. That's a very interesting to contemplate. I think from a academic, I guess, scholarly perspective, no is the answer.
I mean, there are plenty of species that if born and left alone would die as well. Humans are not isolated in that either.
Sure.
True.
Yeah.
But I guess you could, but still, like, when it comes down to it, any species is just going to do what it's going to do, and yeah, it's not, I don't think it's a question that just applies to humans. I mean, you can apply it to anything really, like is any species out there, choosing to be what it is, or is everything just a product of its, nature,
At what moment does that happen in the consciousness?
The inflection point.
After millions and millions of years of just looking up at the stars? Or thousands.
Yeah, that's the thing. If we're aware of our enculturation, and we're actively for it or against it, I don't know. Does that change what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I think sometimes there is this conflation or connection or correlation between self-awareness and choice as like a being, like, but I'm like, just because we're self-aware, I don't know if that necessarily means we are making self-aware choices. Star Trek always likes to weigh in on these big cosmic questions, so we'll see if this episode of Star Trek gives us any insights. Yes, today we are watching True Q. This premiered October 26th, 1992. This is the 6th episode produced for the 6th season, which makes it our first episode from this penultimate season of Star Trek The Next Generation. This is also our 6th Q episode, so this is a real 666 this situation here. Wow. Satan has entered the room, everyone, as we contemplate choice.
See, that's enculturation.
That is enculturation, right. Q did not appear at all during the 5th season. They did try to develop some ideas, but without any success. At this point in the show, the writing staff was at a point where they wanted to bring Q back because he was a popular character, but they weren't sure how to keep bringing Q back. They just got to a point where they're like, this is getting harder and harder now. Well, now what? So that'll be the big thing we're looking at in this one. It's like, because, they eventually struck upon this idea. It's like, okay, here we go. So that'll be the big thing we look at in this one. It's like how they're able to keep developing the character at this point in the series, because we're getting toward the end now. So it is really like, how do we start to wrap up, Q, and where is he now? So that'll be the big thing we look at in this one. All right, for those of you at home who are going to be watching along with us, Star Trek The Next Generation is streaming on Paramount Plus. You can find it by bringing up Season 6, Episode 6, and we will be back after we watch True Q.
Commander's question deserves an answer, Q. You made yourself judge and jury, and if necessary, executioner. By what right have you appointed yourself to this position?
Superior morality.
Oh, yes. I recall how you used your superior morality when we first encountered you. You put us on trial for the crimes of humanity.
The jury's still out on that, Picard. Make no mistake.
Your arrogant pretense at being the moral guardians of the universe strikes me as being hollow, Q. I see no evidence that you are guided by a superior moral code, or any code whatsoever. You may be nearly omnipotent, and I don't deny that your parlor tricks are very impressive. But morality, I don't see it. I don't acknowledge it, Q. I would put human morality against the Q's any day. And perhaps that's the reason that we fascinate you so. Because our puny behavior shows you a glimmer of the one thing that evades your omnipotence, a moral center. And if so, I can think of no crueler irony than that you should destroy this young woman, whose only crime is that she's too human.
Jean-Luc, sometimes I think the only reason I come here is to listen to these wonderful speeches of yours.
All right, we just got done watching True Q. In case you've never watched this one, didn't watch it with us. So in this one, they're helping out some planet with some environmental thing. We just watched it, and I never remember exactly what is going on down there. Something to do with their environment or something. But they also have like an intern on board the Enterprise because she's like this really smart person. She's won this fellowship, and she gets to like study on the Enterprise for a bit. And then it's revealed that she actually has like powers and can do stuff, and then Q shows up and says like, okay, yeah, I think she's a Q, and I'm here to see if she's a Q or not. And then she has to spend time with Q figuring out like her powers and whether or not she's Q or human. And it's also revealed that Q's going to have to kill her depending on what the answer is as a directive from the Continuum. In the end, yeah, it's revealed that, yeah, she is Q. She's given a choice to like refrain from using her powers. Oh, it turns out like her parents like they were Q, they took human form. They lived on Earth. They gave birth to her, and eventually the Q Continuum wiped them out. And so she's been thinking she's human this whole time, and then she eventually has to make a decision of like, she can remain a human, but she can't use her powers ever, or she has to go to the Continuum with them. She says she's not going to use her powers, and then instantly, seconds later, uses her powers to save the entire ecosystem of this planet. And then she goes off. She admits that she's Q, and she goes off with Q into the great beyond, just to kind of, I don't know, explore her whatever. We always start with initial thoughts. Jake, initial thoughts coming on off of True Q.
True Q. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. This was a very Star Trek-y episode. It had all of the things that one would think a Star Trek episode should have. Really large questions put forth, very moral questions, diplomatic approaches, self-autonomy, things that Star Trek is known for exploring. So I appreciated that. I actually preferred it to the last one. The last one was a lot more fun.
It's silly fun.
Yeah, we had the silly fun. We laughed, but this one was definitely a lot more thought-provoking, which I appreciated a lot. And I thought that it was Q felt a lot more motivated to be there. He had an actual reason, and yeah, good stuff.
Aaron, initial thoughts coming on off of True Q.
Cast kind of mostly took a back seat. They were
Q
for the most part,
yeah,
involved with the B plot, except for Crusher, a little bit Picard, and
kind of a Crusher episode, like kind of a Picard episode.
it was very focused on Amanda. It was
even more so, even like more than Q.
Yeah.
Like it all revolved around her, and Q was kind of a supporting character, and it was all her story. Like the whole how we see the cast is kind of like her mentors and everything, and Q is this new guy coming in. It's all from her point of view. But that is interesting.
Yeah, and they were all kind of playing like it was their choice, but really it was she's a Q too, so it was her choice the whole time. Mm-hmm. Trying to sway her and give their opinion on what she should do. I mean, she was asking opinions, but she seemed very in the wind about the whole thing. Recognizing, like, yeah, you could stick with that choice you just made and be incredibly sad about what's about to happen and a bunch of things that are going to happen in your life beyond that you absolutely have the power to change. Yeah. Right? So in context of her life, that would be a really tough choice to make.
Yeah. Terrifying. Yeah, I guess, this one is, this is probably the Q episode out of all of them that I'm the most like, I'm never exactly sure how I feel about this one. It both feels like a big deal and just kind of like a random episode at the same time. Like there are big stakes. It also just seems so random. It's like, oh, by the way, there's this human Q. That seems like that's a really big deal that there's a human Q out there, and also just so happens to show up on the Enterprise
yeah.
that where they've already had.
And of course, they chose to be human, not Vulcan or Andorians or Klingons.
Human. These Q who decide to be human.
Just like the Doctor chooses to represent humanity.
Right. Humanity. This kind of... And it makes me kind of wonder, like, the more I watch this, it's like, this seems like this should be a big deal, because it's like, if you really think about it, it would almost explain even more so why the Q would be so interested in humanity. It's like, oh yeah, actually we had a couple Q decide that they wanted to be human, and had a kid and everything, and then knowing one day that this Q would end up on the Enterprise, it's very possible that could be what initiated this whole, the Continuum deciding to test humanity. Why? If there really were a Q that had decided to be human, I mean, that just feels like, but it also feels like, almost out of all the other Q episodes, and I've been curious to know how you guys feel about this. It almost feels like the most, and here's another Q episode, not necessarily in a bad way, but it has this feeling of like, what else can we do with Q? Kind of a, it kind of felt like in the beginning there was a bit more of like a through line. It's like the Continuum had him show up, but then he kind of had his own personal agenda, and then he got booted out of the Continuum. He lost his powers, and then he came back and wanted to like acknowledge that to Picard. But this just kind of feels like he just suddenly shows up again to test this Q who's there randomly, and then kind of randomly leaves. So there's a kind of randomness about it too. So part of me feels like this is a big deal, then also just kind of feels it's very just like, here's Q, goodbye Q. I don't know, but I'm curious. Do you guys get that feeling with this one, or?
A little bit. I mean, it's random, but it also, at least his presence there is necessary. Yeah. Like he has a mission. beyond just his own, whatever he feels like doing. And I think it's good that the writers kind of pulled back a little bit on the silliness that he brings sometimes. You still get a couple of the snarky one-liners because that's just the character. He has this bent against humanity for some reason, but it's still good to remind your audience of the power and the fear that should also come with a Q character. It's all the episodes before, he keeps being thwarted and defeated. So as an audience member, you get to the point where you're almost rolling your eyes like, oh, it's another Q episode. They're going to get out of it somehow because they always get out of it. So you almost have to bring in this other person, this Amanda character, someone that's not invincible, someone that the audience doesn't know for sure is going to make it out okay. We know Picard's going to be okay. We know Crusher's going to be okay.
Right.
They got to be on next week's episode.
Right.
So to bring in this other person is kind of a good way to, I guess, not trick the audience, but...
It raises the stakes.
Yes,
you don't know what's going to happen.
Right, the audience...
Anything could happen to this character. Yeah.
Yep.
And it gives Q a W, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not always losing. Now he's got a
That's true.
tally in the win.
He succeeds in this.
Right, they don't thwart him or anything in this. And yeah, if anything, he proves his point. It's like, you're Q, bitch. You're coming with me.
Sorry, I called you bitch.
Sorry, I called Dr. Crusher a bitch when I turned her into a dog.
Oh my god. It's a very pretty dog.
Oh, yeah.
Not Dr. Crusher pretty, though. That would be wrong.
There were 2 scenes with dogs in this episode.
That's right.
They had some dog people on set.
The puppies at the beginning. Yeah, this was a dog-heavy episode.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the dog lovers out there. If you like dogs,
which is everyone, I
Q
hope.
is your episode.
Oh, you like Labradors? Well, here's a yellow one. And here's a black one. Oh, they're so cute.
It's such an adorable way to show her power at the beginning. Just like she's thinking about puppies and misses puppies. And then her room is just full of puppies. And she's like, oh no, you guys can't stay. But I want you to stay so bad. It's such a good, who wouldn't, if you had infinite power? Sure, you do lots of stuff, but who wouldn't have a puppy parade?
I just need, you know what I need right now is just a room full of puppies or little kittens.
That'd be a nightly ritual.
Yeah, and puppies.
Brush their teeth, puppies, dead.
Just all over, just yeah.
And they go away.
And then they're gone. Yeah,
No
back
mess.
into the nothing from whence they came.
No training.
No shit.
If we can start with, like we said, the focus of this episode, though, Q and the cast kind of are in the background in this to some degree. This is full on an Amanda episode. And this is the first time we've really gotten to see a fleshed out Q other than Q. We had Corbin Burnson from LA Law.
Corbin Burnson!
Corbin Burnson.
Make his cameo appearance in Deja Q. But that's just you got your powers back, kind of thing. Yeah. And I guess you get there's a weird shadow. There's a weird scene in this. Q's just randomly going down the hall, and in the shadow, your progress, Q.
Oh, yeah.
As if that's the continuum, checking in with him. But it's this Q just kind of just casually walk. What was that scene?
Just chill, guys.
I thought it was going to mean more than it did.
No.
I thought there was going to be something else going on.
No.
That was a little more meaningful.
Yeah, they kind of teased, they raised the stakes where Q might have to kill her, but then it just kind of goes away. Mm-hmm. He's like, nah, I'm not going to kill her. But I'm just going to give her a choice. But this is the first time we get to see another Q other than Q, in a real sense, an actual character. I don't know. What's our feeling on Amanda as just both a character and our second look at a Q character? Because she's very different than Q.
Well, she's empathetic.
Right.
She's growing up with the humans, so tremendous amounts of empathy, compassion, some of the good emotional traits in humans. I think, again, the good Q episodes are the ones that make you reflect on humanity. This person, we find out, is not actually human, but they possess all of these very positive qualities that they say is influenced by their human upbringing. And that's a good thing to reflect on.
Yeah, I mean, when the episode starts, they're talking about her. It's like, this is an amazing person. Like, and shout out to the actor, Olivia Diabo. I think she does a really good job. I think she's like the highlight. It's a good part, but I think she plays it really well. When she has that scene where she's trying to talk to Dr. Crusher about, it's like, if you could do anything, what would you do? And Crusher's like, I don't know. She's like, no, think about it. Like, if you could do anything, I guess I'd help people. Are you sure you wouldn't bring your husband back?
Jesus.
I don't know if I could make that decision unless I'm in it. And then she has that moment, just like I am faced with it. You know, it's like she plays that moment so well where you can tell like how both excited and terrified because you can see how she's such a good person. She just seems like this very good human, outstanding person who's just suddenly, you are given everything. What do you do with it?
And really, you always had it, right? Yeah. Very interesting. It's kind of the inverse of Riker's situation when he's giving Q powers.
Yeah.
Grew up human, giving Q powers. Her situation, she is a Q, right? And she's just discovering it. So she has to make the opposite choice. Riker chooses to be human. She chooses to be Q.
But in an interesting way, like, she has those powers for 6 months, and up to that point has been good about not using them. And like Riker got tempted essentially instantly.
Yeah.
And instantly his empathy kind of went out the window for a second. He was all standing mighty and proud of himself when he saved the crew of the Enterprise.
Well, that's quite a genie pose.
And she is so resistant and she's just like essentially begging them, please, I don't want to be Q. And then when she realizes at the end, you see she's in tears. You know, she's like, yeah, I'm Q. But you can tell she's like just crushed about it. Very different reactions.
Good performance.
Yep.
It's weird how much Crusher was a part of this episode.
Oh yeah,
I was not expecting her to. She was the most featured member of the senior officers in this episode, and it's interesting because the things that she's discussing and going through with Amanda, you would think would be a Troy thing. Like, it's very therapy, counselor driven conversations. So I thought that was, I don't know, an odd choice, but a good choice.
It looks like my guess is because she lost her parents, and so she's Dr. Mom. Yeah. So my guess is that they were trying to play up the whole like mom, and she has these lost parents, so she's kind of playing this mother figure for her.
Right. She like wheels her onto the bridge to when she's about to explain why or justify why she's choosing Q. Right. Almost like she's practicing for her parents. Like, no, you're going to hear this.
Yeah. I was thinking about what you were saying about it feeling kind of like a random episode. It does feel random, and yeah, at the same time, not, because it feels also very par for the course. Yeah. It's even self-aware. There's that one line where Q says, "Oh, I come here just to hear your speeches," whatever, because that's basically, okay, we get this moral dilemma, Picard comes in, says some really, amazing stuff, and that's our episode.
Writers jerk themselves off a little bit.
Yeah. Stroke our egos.
Sometimes I think the only reason I come here is to listen to these wonderful speeches you give.
Really, I feel like that's the writers being like, okay, it's just Tuesday again, guys. We're in the writer's room. We got to do 26 episodes per season of this shit. Like, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's like a copy and paste type episode.
No.
But it does kind of follow that formulaic, okay, we got to have a moral question of the week.
Yeah.
This is where we insert the Picard monologue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Patrick. Hell of a performance.
Yep. Thank you.
Sir
As
Patrick.
always, Patrick, thank you. I'll be in my trailer.
The one thing that evades your omnipotence, a moral center.
And perhaps
Her only crime is that she's too human.
Yeah.
It
but
does,
yeah, it is powerful.
It might be the most, if there is a TNG formula, this might be the most formulaic, and that's not necessarily is a bad thing, but it definitely checks all the boxes.
Yes.
But to me, like, it seemed like for me, there was a kind of a through line with all the Q episodes. This one definitely feels the most disconnected from that, because his motivations for being there have been very personal up until then. And then here he's just like, I'm here on a mission from the continuum. He makes like a little line about like, because Picard brings up,
When we first met, you put us on trial for the crimes of humanity.
it seems like he says in every other Q episode. And Q has that line like, don't, the jury's still out of that, Picard. Make no mistakes. So there's some connections to the greater thing that's been playing out, but just an interesting kind of, this one always just feels a little unique compared to the other. They all have their own little thing, but this one certainly feels a little unique in contrast to the others.
They got to flesh out giving a human Q powers a little more, which is an interesting concept. Like, what would you do given the choice?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Fun as a kid to think about, like, oh, you could do anything you wanted, right?
You could do anything. That moment she has, it's an uncomfortable moment. It's that scene where she steals Riker into her little fantasy. And, because it's like, she's like a 17-year-old girl and he's like a, 35-year-old, dude. So, but she has like, her character has like the hots for him. And it is it's a very like uncomfortable, awkward scene, but like intentionally so, because it's like, this makes sense though. It's like, and it's an interesting moment for her because you said, like, Jake, that empathy kicks in. Like, when she's a very empathetic person and she tries to kind of, that's the moment where she's the closest to being like Q, where she just pulls Riker out because she's kind of fixed on him and pulls him into this whole little scenario of her making and that's what Q does to the end. But then she can't go through with it. She realizes, like, this means nothing to me and like how hollow it is. And just to pull Riker into this and, a very interesting kind of a moment and scene when seeing someone realizing that getting all that power is also just so meaningless, and how sad that kind of moment is for her too. It's a very unique moment, certainly in all the Q episodes.
And Riker's not all that, and that's, she was like, oh, this is what I thought I was missing.
I could have been doing this shit. Why did I give up those powers?
That's kind of almost like putting all the cheat codes into a video game or something, right?
Right.
It's fun for a minute, but then it loses its appeal really quick.
Yeah.
Because the real fun was in the challenge of the game, right?
Right. As a diversion, it's kind of fun, but yeah, it's something similar that I've experienced with like lucid dreaming. Like I kind of figured out lucid dreaming when I was pretty young, and kind of would lucid dream a lot when I was younger. And it was, really cool and exciting. I could do all sorts of stuff. Like I could like Superman blast out of orbit, and like I could do all sorts of cool stuff. But then it got to a point where you start to realize it gets boring. Like there's no surprise. So now it's kind of come full circle. Well, now like I can still kind of assert myself, but I don't. I just kind of let dreams play out now, just because it's like it's actually more interesting. Just not know and accept the limitations and just kind of let things be what they are. Much more interesting. And that's they kind of explore that with her. Like it is interesting. It's like you feel like it's a very Star Trek take on this, because this is not the first time someone's done a story about you get everything. Like if you could do anything, and people ultimately instantly become corrupted by the power, and that doesn't quite happen with her in this. Like she's very resistant and terrified by it the whole time, and all she wants is to just live this human life. And in the end, the resolution is not that she's like, I've been tempted by the power of the Q. It's more of this admission, this is just what I am. I still want to be human. I have all the power to be whatever I want, and the one thing I want to be is human, but that's just not what I actually am. It's kind of a heartbreaking story arc for her.
She doesn't take it cynically, though. She chooses to help that planet,
right,
and heal whatever's going on in the atmosphere, which is so.
She fixes their whole planet,
still keeping a huge part of her humanity there.
Right. It's a massive act of empathy.
Yeah. So not taking it to the extreme that her parents did, like no more Q, right? Like she's using the power to help the universe.
Yeah. Interesting idea. Like it'd be, spoiler alert, they never revisit this character, and it almost seems like a shame because it's like, what the fuck happens to Amanda? Like that just seems like, where does that character go? Like a human Q, essentially. It seems like that should be a huge deal with how they've established how important humanity is to Q, and she's never brought back again. Very interesting.
One thing they touched on a little bit in this episode that I wish they would have went further with was when Q is basically telling Picard that human morality, human culture is basically not the best morality in the whole world. It's not the be-all, tell-all of all morality. And it's good to keep that in check sometimes. Our morality is not necessarily the best morality in the universe. It's the best one that we know of, because that's all we know. But he's trying to explain to him, in the Q, we kill those who are not fully Q or cannot live up to the responsibility of being omnipotent. You may think that's savage, but that's just what you think. You know, from an objective perspective, this is just our culture and the way we do things. There are a lot of cultures out there that do things that one might consider heinous, but that's just culture. And I think I wanted that conversation to go a step further. I wanted Picard maybe to be humbled a little bit of like, yeah, maybe our morals don't need to be put on other beings.
I mean, if you really think about it, and in a way, it would be a huge act of mercy from the Q continuum, because he says, like, with, this power comes responsibility, and it's like, we can't have essentially unchecked omnipotent beings roaming out there. And if you really, think about it from Picard, it's like, I wish they would have had a moment. It's like, think about it, Picard. Like, would you want Q who don't answer to anyone running around on your tiny little planet? Because it's like, oh yeah, that actually, who knows? Yeah. Because it's kind of implied to some degree, like we've seen the continuum put Q in check. Q does have his limits, because he shows up in the episode completely without power, because the continuum, it's like, you fucked up, bud. You lost your powers. So even Q himself is not all powerful, in the sense that, like, the continuum keep him in check. And it's like, yeah, you might think it's savage that we just kill these two Q, but it's like, do you want these all powerful beings just roaming scot-free, doing whatever they want?
They made a deal.
Yeah, it's like they had a choice and they fucked up. Like, yeah. What did we think about Q himself in this one? Compared to how we talked about it a little bit so far, but how does Q himself come across?
Creepy, but he's got a point. Yeah, that's all.
Creepy, but got a point.
Yeah, definitely creepy. But that's just the way he plays the character is so invasive and intrusive. He just stomps on everyone's toes. That's just kind of his deal. Yeah. That's what he does in every episode. It's just a little more magnified in this episode because he's dealing with like a 17-year-old minor, and it just the optics are uncomfortable. Very. But I actually really like his character in this one. He's not silly. He's not. I mean, he's always cynical, but he's not there for the sake of cynicism. He's motivated. He's on a mission. He's answering to someone. There's a figure that shows up as a shadow to direct orders at him. These are all things I appreciate. I think it grounds the character more. The scenes are clear and focused. They don't seem random or out of place. He doesn't seem random or out of place. The episode seems kind of random.
But he certainly has all of his actions make sense.
Yeah, and they choose him for a good reason. Yeah. Because at first I was like, well, why choose? You have a whole continuum. Why do you send him always? But then he explains, well, I am the leading expert on humans, obviously.
I'm the go-between.
So, yeah, I like that every little avenue of motivation was clear, thought out. Didn't feel kind of wonky in that way, and then that's a credit to the writers.
Yeah, he shows a level of concern about this situation, even though there is this kind of flippancy he always has. But you can tell like there's legitimate concern with him for this situation, and it doesn't seem all self-motivated. It seems that he is concerned about what this being would be for them, the universe at large. You know, he's like, I don't think you guys understand. This is a potential Q being. Like, this is this very serious scenario. Like, just one Q can essentially do anything. It's also interesting for how, like I said, like we talked about, you know, he is some of that old kind of more, I don't know, threatening aspect to his nature is back in this one. Not entirely, but they do continue. Like some of the scenes with him and Picard are interesting. Like even though there's more of this threat to him, there is also this now. This also seems to be the most casually familiar. He just pops up into the middle of the briefing room, and there's like they're not even that fazed by it. Like where in earlier episodes, it's like Q, you know, and there's like this big reveal of Q, but he just kind of shows up in like Act 1, and then Q, and then they just start, you know, talking to him like, oh sure, Q shows up from time to time, and Picard and Q have a lot of scenes together, and their dynamic is much more. Q, if you in those scenes where they're alone, Q almost treats him like an equal. Like there's more of a shared power dynamic that is kind of interesting that we haven't necessarily, because he's like, Picard, I need your help with this. We need to do this. And so like, he's asking Picard for a favor.
He thinks that Picard is the only one that gets him. You know, right. he even says, I need to talk with you alone because in the meeting room, it's just not working.
You and I need to talk, bro.
Yeah.
But that's the it's very interesting. And like we talked about in like the last episode, there's more of this familiarity or frenemy. And that certainly feels much more on play here. That frenemy thing, even though you can tell they're annoyed by Q, there is a kind of repertoire now between them all. This is an acquaintance of ours, Q. And that is kind of interesting just to see how that develops. Like, there's more of an intimacy between them now than we haven't seen before. I think this is also an episode where, like, because in the last episode, John Delancey wanted to bring back more of the threatening quality, and it just did not materialize. And he wanted to do it again in this episode. And he has said that he's still not. It's not as he wanted to go more with it with this one. He wanted Q to be still more of a threatening. And it just didn't quite get there. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. But it is, part of me is just like, I just think the relationship has changed by this point. Like, it's hard to go, if he were to go fully back to how he was in, like, say, at the Borg episode, that would feel really kind of jarring.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, like, it's almost like this weird, we've been through so much now.
Well, yeah, they've got a joke about their past adventures at this point.
Yeah.
Right. Like, he can't be like God and devil and friend and arbiter and judge, right? All at the same time. They had to pick one eventually. Mm-hmm. I think they made the right choice.
I don't know. With this, just real quick, coming to our question from earlier, I don't know. Does this shed any light on this? Like, clearly this whole episode is about Amanda. Do you think on any level they were trying to tell some story of, I don't know, someone living in the closet of some kind, and at the end, kind of them kind of like, this is the way I was born, and that's just how I am, as much as I was enculturated in this other way. It only popped in my head at the end. It's like, I don't know, is that something they might also be trying to sneak in there as well?
I think if you find that in there, then it's in there. That's kind of the beauty of this medium, all artistic mediums. If that's what you found in there, then it's in there.
Yeah, that's definitely something I get at the end there. It's, you know, her kind of admitting to herself, this is just who I am.
I can see that metaphor. You could also say imposter syndrome. Or people like myself who are biracial and having conflict of where their culture even lies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes those questions are good to contemplate, I think. And Star Trek, you know, is a nice compass.
That's the kind of stuff they've been doing with like Spock since the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's
the
great.
human Vulcan thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Jake, any final thoughts on True Q?
Oh, final thoughts. Go seek this episode out. It's enjoyable. And, yeah, I really like what you were saying there at the end about this metaphor of coming out.
Aaron, any final thoughts on True Q?
Solid episode. A bit random, but
Yeah.
you know, it's nice to remind people that the meta plot exists every once in a while. You know, Q's still there in the background. Doesn't need to be anything crazy. It was good. Shout out to the actress who played Amanda. Did a great job.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Definitely the highlight of the episode. She has a good performance. What do you guys? Where does this stack up with the Q episodes so far?
Lukewarm.
Lukewarm, yeah, tepid.
I think I would put this solidly like in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jake. Thanks so much for coming on and
Oh,
watching
man. Thank
True Q. You're a true friend.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Jake. It was awesome.
You're both very dear to me, and I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, I always love having you come over.
Babe.
All right. Thank you all at home for listening. We hope you enjoyed our coverage of the episode True Q. Next week, we are going to be moving into our 2-part finale for the TNG Glory Years. We are going to be ending with another classic Next Generation 2-part episode. We are going to be watching next week Chain of Command Part 1. This is going to be, for all you newbies out there, this is going to be the return of the Cardassians. And our good friend of the podcast, Ellen Marie Lewis, will be coming on to watch those with us. Getting her first her little taste of season 6 and her first little taste of a Next Generation 2-parter. So that should be a lot of fun. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Jake, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Aaron, thank you so much as always.
Thank you, Jaron. Thank you, Jake.
And thank you, everyone at home. We will see you all next time, hopefully in the middle of a big puppy parade. Good night, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to share us your own Star Trek story, you can email us at storiedstartrek@gmail.com, or you can visit our Discord server. You can find us by clicking on the link in the show description.